Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel, Chili 1911. I'm just going to take a few minutes and look at 4 different examples of case knives. The oldest one here, that medium jack down in the bottom left hand corner, it's a 1983, so it's getting on close to 40 years old. Then in the top right corner you got the Sodbuster Jr. That's a brand new knife. It's a 2021. This is 2022, but I just got that knife and opened it today actually, so it's a brand new knife. You see a lot of debate lately on different forums and platforms talking about cases quality through the years, especially newer ones are not what they used to be. They're not up to par like they used to be. Cases still demanding a pretty high premium as far as price wise for their knives. Has their quality gone down? I don't know, you tell me. All I can do is take the ones I have here. We'll take a little bit closer look at each one, kind of look at the fit and finish. Now, with that being said, in all fairness, every one of the black knives you see, the Canoe, the Jack, and the Sodbuster, or excuse me, the Canoe, the Jack, and the Hunter are all used. The Sodbuster is the only one that's brand new out of the box that hasn't been used. So we'll take a look at them. Starting in the top left corner, you got the 2015 model Canoe. That's my everyday carry. It's model 62131. Right below it, as aforementioned, is a 1983 medium jack, model 22087. Beside it, in the bottom right corner, it's a 2000 year folding hunter. It's a large hunter, model 6265. And then above the hunter is the brand new 2021 Sodbuster Jr, model 6137. Now the Sodbuster, I'm including it because it is brand new. It's kind of like a neutral, I guess you'd say. The only problem with the Sodbuster is it's made a little different than the other ones. It doesn't have the bolsters and stuff like that. It's more of a economy based working person's knife. You know, it's made to be used, not really put up and looked at. I've never had a problem with case knives. I've heard of people getting them and sending them back, and you know, they say the fit and finish isn't right, the blades aren't sharp. You know, I can't speak to that. I've never had a problem. Some people may be a little more picky than others. I guess if you were a excuse me, a collector, or if you were selling them, you know, reselling them, you'd probably want the best. I can't blame you there, but I think there's a lot of hate going on that probably shouldn't be. And I mean, Case XX is one of the few companies that's still American made, so I'm going to continue to support them. You know, can I go out and afford a $300 or $400 you know, white Kodiak Bowie? No, I can't, but you know, I'm not going to. But can I afford a $25 Sodbuster? Sure. You know, a $35 Canoe? Why not? So let's take a look. I'll quit rambling. Start with this old medium jack. Try to get a better light here. Now this knife, you can tell the tip on the clip point is broken. Down here in the corner, it's like it's got bent or crushed at some point, maybe even melted by something. The inlay is gone. But this is almost 40-year-old knife. So it's not its fault. Where the handles or scales meet the bolsters, that's fine. Again, these are used knives, so all except the Sodbuster. The centering on the blades doesn't look bad. I don't see any noticeable gaps between the brass liners and the springs. Alright, so that's 1983 medium jack. Next oldest one will be this Hunter. I'm gonna go ahead and close it up. I won't be messing around with the camera and a light with a full-size case Hunter. So this is a 2000 model. All four knives are stainless steel. We're not looking at any chrome vanadium today. This knife was carried a lot in a sheath. It was actually a hand-me-down from my dad. I've got a whole video on this knife. Bolsters feel pretty good. Meeting up with the wood. Again, I don't see any gaps. Between the springs and brass liners. Blade centering, it's pretty good. That spay blade, which is the top one, I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of close to the middle brass inlay. I'm sorry about the lighting. But for the most part, it's okay. Now what you're seeing in the wood here, if you notice, like right here, the way a case sheath is made, and my dad wore out like probably 3 leather sheaths carrying this thing, but the way it's made is you just slip your belt through the back like that, and it's open in there, so part of your belt is touching the knife itself. The reason I tell you that is you can see on this one, that's where his belt rubbed that wood on that knife. So that's where that wear came from. One thing we can look at on this big one, open this clip point, is that meet up right there where the blade meets up with the back spring. I mean, it looks pretty good to me. There's a little bit of a drop right there on my thumb when I come off the spring to the blade, but it's nothing major. Check the Skinner blade. Now the Skinner blade does on these knives cant kind of forward. See how it does? So it's going to have a little bit of a drop there as well. But as far as centering between the spring and the blade, I mean, it's about dead center. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a drop, but like I said, that Skinner blade cants forward on this style. This is my everyday carry. It's a 2015 canoe. Go ahead while we have the big blade, open the main blade. Now it does look more rounded as far as the end of the blade there, right there. It seems more rounded, where the jack and the hunter seem to be more squared off. But that could be the design of the canoe in and of itself. So, you know, I'm not too worried about something like that. You may be. The canoe, that big blade, it kind of cants forward as well, like the Skinner blade on the hunter. Check out the small blade, pin blade, I believe is what they call that. It slightly cants forward. Same deal on it. The bottom of the blade tends to look like it's more rounded than squared off where it meets the spring. But there's no big major gap there or anything. Now, with a canoe, there's no center. This is my carry knife, so you'll see some dust. There is no center inlay. They're going to lay beside each other. It's a very thin knife. I'm trying to see if they touch. If they do, it's too close to tell. I mean, it's yeah, I don't think they're riding on each other or anything like that in your pocket. Bolsters feel good on the inlays where they meet up, smooth. Look at the back. Everybody's always worried about gaps. I can't really see any gaps. That center pin, slightly, it looks worse than it feels, I guess I could say. It's slightly popped up, but of course that could be that jig style stock that's on it. I mean, it's slightly on in a hole there. The top of the pin, you know, that could be the reason it looks like it sticks out. I mean, it really doesn't. So that's a 2015 canoe. We'll take a look at this Sodbuster Jr. real quick. Alright. I will say this, the centering on that one, if we're talking about the tip here, it is slightly off-centered. It's over towards my thumb more so, and then there's a big gap towards the right. the brass pins and the hinge there, I guess you call it, smooth, very smooth. I mean, that's probably the smoothest one I've got. Like, you almost, it feels like one piece. It's not even, they're not sticking out at all. On the back, maybe a slight, not really a gap, but more towards the right under that big hinge pin. If you look down towards that brass liner, the bottom brass liner, my camera's not picking it up too well, the lighting ain't the best in the world, but kind of down in here, it's not so much a gap as a, almost like the spring sits deeper than that brass inlay on the bottom, and I can run my finger over it and kind of feel that. I don't know if I've said, well, I know I said it earlier in the video, but this is more of like a economical knife. It's made for working. It's a Sodbuster Jr. It's made for farmers and ranchers and stuff like that. So, I mean, the fit finish probably isn't going to be the best in the world. That back spring does tend to stick out a little farther than the blade does. As far as the centering on it, it looks pretty good. No major gap as far as in between where the two pieces meet. But that right there, that where that spring meets, it does stick out a little more than the blade. They don't meet up perfect there, but I will say, when I opened this knife, it seemed like it looked a little dirty. And if you look up in the nail nick there, it's almost like it's got, it's almost, you can see it better there, it almost looks like it's brown, almost like a rust up in there. I don't really think that's rust. It may just be the way the concave of that curve is, that it's making it look like it's brown. So that concerned me a little bit. There was some black stuff down, you can kind of see beside the model number there. But I think that's just a little bit of oil or something that the factory used. But there's a spot right here. I'm not sure what that is. It would probably buff out with a little bit of rubbing compound, polish compound. But anyway, that's a look at those case knives. I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm not telling you to buy them or not buy them, but I will say in closing, for a collector or a reseller, you know, I can't blame them for wanting top quality. But for a good American-made knife, you know, everyday carry pocket knife, or even one to put up in a display, you know, show your kids, or if you have company over or something, you can't beat Case. You know, even one of their slogans right here is twice tested, never bested. And that was true for a very long time. I mean, if you think of American-made pocket knives, you're thinking of Case or Buck. So, anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Like I said, it's not a pro or a con. It's nothing against Case Cutlery. I don't have anything against Case Cutlery. One of my favorite brands, as y'all probably know. But anyway, that's just my opinion and showing you a few of my cases. So y'all have a good evening. Catch you on the next one. Chili 1911 out.